This is the last rotation video, so we are on number 5 on the rotation notes. We have point A is located at -2, +3 on the coordinate plane. So let's go ahead and graph that down here. That would be left 2, up 1, 2, 3. All right, so this is going to be our point A. So what we're going to do is we're going to do several different rotations, and we're just going to write down the coordinates. So let's think about 90 degrees counterclockwise. So counterclockwise will be the opposite direction of the clock, and that would be 1 90-degree turn. So we would go this direction, 1 turn. All right, so the top of your page should now be on your left. So if I wanted to get to this coordinate, and I'm thinking of this is my x-axis and this is my y, to get to A I would go left and down, so these would both be negative. I would go left 3 and down 2. All right, so left 3, down 2, that would be -3, -2. So notice 1 90-degree turn actually switched my x and y coordinates, but it also changed the sign on the y, and that does depend on which direction you go, what it does. All right, so now we want 270 degrees clockwise. So that's 3 90-degree turns, but going this direction. All right, so here's 1 90-degree turn, so the top of your page is on your right-hand side. 2 90-degree turns, and we're upside down. Continuing the same direction, 3 90-degree turns, and this looks very familiar because it is exactly the same as part A. So left 3, down 2. Okay, so just sort of reiterating this concept that 3 turns one direction is equivalent to 1 90-degree turn in the other direction. Now our next one is 180 degrees about the origin. And notice it doesn't give us a direction. It doesn't say clockwise or counterclockwise. So let's try clockwise first. That would be 2 90-degree turns. So here would be 1. Here would be 2. So notice that my shape is, or my page is completely upside down. All right, so that was clockwise. If I go counterclockwise, I'm now going this direction. There's 1, and there's 2. Once again, it's completely upside down. So for 180, it doesn't matter which direction you go, you're going to end up upside down either way. All right, so to get to A, I would have to go right and down, so that would be positive and then negative. So +2 followed by -3. Okay, so +2 followed by -3. So notice this is kind of interesting. If it's 180 degree, if you turn it upside down, you basically flip your coordinates. Okay, so that's kind of good to know. And part D, doesn't matter which direction you go for 180 degrees. We just figured out that that does not matter. Get the same thing either direction. All right, so for our very last example, this has some reflections and translations. So we want to take an ordered pair and see what happens to it when we do all of these operations. Now we talked a little bit about reflections. Remember, if you reflect over the x-axis, that changes the sign on the y. So it's always the opposite of whatever you're reflecting across. So that means that this point, the x stays the same, the y changes its sign. So we could graph that and reflect it if you want to, or you can just sort of remember that. So when you're reflecting over the y-axis, what that does is that changes the sign on x. Okay, so x would become -2, but y would remain the same. And again, you can plot these and check them if you need to. All right, my last two I'm not as confident about, so I'm going to go ahead and plot these. I've got the point 1, -4, and I'm going to call that little c since it's part C. And I want to go 90 degrees counterclockwise, so this direction. Okay, so we're leaving the origin fixed, 90 degrees counterclockwise. So to get to C, I would go right and up, so they'd both be positive, right 4, up 1. So that would become the point 4, 1. So the x and y flipped, and then we also changed the sign on the y. All right, the last one we have is a translation. Now if we're going to go 3 to the left, that's going to affect my x coordinate because it takes me left and right. So left 3 is going to make it 3 smaller. So I'm thinking x minus 3. And then up 1 would make my y 1 bigger. So I'm thinking y plus 1. Okay, but let's try this and see if it works. I have the point 2, negative 5, which is right here. So that's D. I want to translate it left 3, 1, 2, 3, and up 1. So it would land right here, and that would be D prime. So to get that, it would be left 1, down 4. So negative 1, negative 4. All right, so let's see if we were right. We originally had a 2, so I'm going to replace x with a 2. Going left 3 should have made that 3 smaller, so 2 minus 3 gives me negative 1, so that looks good. My y should have gotten 1 bigger. My y was negative 5, so negative 5 plus 1, that gives me negative 4, so that checks out as well.